What's up, guys? Anthony here with Empire Music, empiremusic.com, showing you another one from the Fender Vintera II lineup. So this is a brand new series from Fender. We're taking a look at the 60s P-Bass today. Now, I've said it before in a lot of our videos. We are such a big Fender custom shop dealer. Our knowledge base of new vintage instruments, if that makes sense, what I mean by that is new instruments that are made to feel vintage. We have a really Our knowledge base is really good on that. So when we get our hands on something, I think our opinion can kind of matter a lot based off of our experience with that type of stuff. We've designed great instruments, our Empire 67 Strats, Tellies, Super Strats, and the bass. So we've designed the Empire 58 P-Bass. It's one that I had an integral hand in designing. So when I get my hands on something that's a little bit more budget friendly, in this case, a lot more budget friendly, this is a Mexican series instrument, so those price points are a lot lower. Again, kind of our vantage point on this stuff is really strong. So when I get something in my hands and I like the feel of it and it feels pretty authentic, this does. Now, you don't have the nitro finish on it. It's definitely a little more modern kind of taste to it, but it's a great entry point into a vintage inspired bass. So you have a 60s pickup in that. I think that they're trying to make this sound like the Fender Custom Shop 62 pickup, which is cool. That's a great pickup. You do a pretty good job on it too. Alder body. This one's in Olympic white. It's a pretty dark Olympic white, almost like vintage white on it. Looks great with the red torque guard. I play a bass very, very similar to this. Slab rosewood neck or slab rosewood fretboard. I don't know that I've ever seen that on something at this price point. And then an early 60s C neck. Again, I think they're trying to go after sort of what they do in the custom shop with the 60s oval C. Although to me, and I'm not A-Bing it, this feels a little slimmer than that. I think that's gonna really be great for a lot of people because we get a lot of requests. That's why we built our Empire 58 with a slimmer neck. This is even slimmer than that. And when we move that, what they're calling the early 60s C out over 1.5 inches nut width, it really feels almost like a modern C over that. It's very, very comfortable. Reverse gear tuner. So we have a lot of vintage inspired stuff kind of going on with it, but in, like I said, in the Mexican series stuff. So the price point's nice. This comes with a gig bag, no hard shell case. Plays really good right out of the box. I did do I wouldn't even say a substantial setup, but that's luck of the draw. Sometimes we open them up and they're perfect right out. We get into playing them and they're rock solid. Other times we got to do a little bit on it. So yeah, I had to take the neck off. It is a heel adjust truss rod. I wish in general, and even like on custom shop stuff that I've designed, I would go with neck adjust truss rods, so we don't have to take the neck off to make the adjustment. But I totally understand why they did it. It keeps the vintage spec on there look wise. And again, I've designed our Empire 58s with the heel adjust truss rod, so just kind of is what it is there. Sonically, it's a cool instrument, man. It's all the P-bass character, but in the 60s voicing. So I think of that as the middle ground. So where we think of late 50s, early 50s obviously is its own thing with the straight single coil P pickup in it. But when we jump into like a 57, or we start seeing the split coil, there's where we start seeing a little underpowered, and then we start gaining output as we move forward into the 80s and then 70s, 80s, 90s, so on and so forth. We start getting a little bit louder of an instrument. Doesn't necessarily mean, louder is a rough way to put it, a higher output. And then we have like the lower output, late 50s stuff. Doesn't necessarily equate to this giant volume leap, I think. But what it does is it kind of changes the character of the instrument as far as how we attack it. So it's as personal to each player, but your attack really changes the dynamic of the bass as we move like lower in output. I feel like as we go higher in output, some of your personal attack and your personal character don't always shine through. I think early 60s gives you the best of both worlds, where we have enough output, but also enough of your own kind of, I've said this before, and it might sound silly to some people, but I like the bass to be an extension of me, or it should be an extension of you as the player. So it's reacting to what you give it, and you're reacting to what it's giving back to you. This does a pretty good job of that, again, in the Mexican series lineup. So great way to get into that kind of vintage vibe, but you know, a little bit on the budget. So check out some of the tones. Full volume, full tone. Let's move our hand around. There's not a whole lot we can do with the P-bass. Like I said before, it's a one-trick pony, but it's just the best trick. So let's check it out. So there, just in one quick passage, we really see everything we want to get out of a P-bass. It doesn't have the, it's funny because I just did a demo on the Vintera II 70's Telecaster bass, and it was such a unique thing with the mud bucker all up in the neck. It's really nice to be back kind of at home bass with the P-bass. It's just such a no-frills way to get a great bass tone. And it doesn't have that snap of a jazz bass, and it doesn't have all that darkness of that mudbucker pickup. It really sits right in the middle, which is why I love them. But what we get, and what you want to see out of a P-bass, is that variety of tone that you can get with just your hand, for better or for worse. So we go from like the mellower, rounder, right, to the snappier. Very, very nice. Let's put a little bit of fuzz on that. Now the pedal that I'm using, one of my favorite pedals, it's a staple in my pedal board, is the Way Huge Pork and Pickle. Great overdrive, great fuzz. I'm on the fuzz side. I got drive at about 11 o'clock. Tone kind of up on this thing. So I'm gonna roll that back just a touch. You can see the top of my bald head. Sounds great. Another great thing about a P bass, why I like them so much, especially with like fuzz or overdrive, a good P bass will retain that character even through effects, and that totally did it where we dig in. Or we lay off. Always while being supportive of the band, which obviously as bass players is our primary role. So we're gonna just roll tone back a little bit and mess around with some playing techniques. Let's put a pick in it, on it, in it, on it, in my hands, on the bass. Like that. Again, always retains the tone that you're trying to pull out of the instrument. That's why P basses are awesome. Palm mute with thumb, no pick. Slap. And then tone back up, just moving our hand around, playing normal finger style. Very cool. Fender nailed it. A no frills approach to the P bass, as always. I mean, it's a no frills instrument on its own. But if you're really looking to get into some of that 60s vibe, I can't stress enough, slab rosewood at this price point's ridiculous. Great pickup. Great feeling bass. Tons and tons of vintage character in the Fender Vintera II 60's P bass. This one's in Olympic white. I think this is also in three-tone sunburst as well, but showing this one off, which is probably my all-time favorite color scheme. Very cool. Phone number at the shop if you need something, 412-343-5299. You can email me directly. It's anthony@empiremusic.com. See you next time. Thanks for watching.